Hello, dear viewers. I'm standing on the approximate spot where Chris Kaba was shot dead on the 5th of September 2022, if I've got that right, at approximately 22:07. So Mr. Kaba was wanted by the police on suspicion of a murder carried out the day before. He had an extensive criminal record dating back to the age of 13. He spent time in a Young Offenders Institute for carrying knives, grievous bodily harm, various offences like that. So Mr. Kaba, he drove in his car from New Park Road. He turned here. The police had found out he was coming. They had an unmarked car ahead which stopped his vehicle. Then a police car came in behind to block him, so he was unable to escape. He started ramming them. They were armed police. They called upon him repeatedly to get out of the vehicle. The whole incident was filmed, and one of the officers, Blake, saying, fearing his comrades' lives were in grave danger, he fired a single shot which hit Mr. Kaba in the head, killing him. So that was Mr. Kaba, who was 23 years of age. I'm not quite sure how soon he died, whether it's instantaneous or not. His girlfriend was pregnant at the time. So Chris Kaba was born in the United Kingdom to Congolese parents. Many people think it's very pertinent to the case that he was black. The officer who shot him happened to be white. Anyway, so there was seething at the time. A lot of people jumped on the bandwagon. Now, Mr. Kaba was unarmed at the time of his death. Police didn't know that. Obviously, he could still have killed people with their vehicle. So it was the day before the Queen died. Were it not for Her Britannic Majesty dying the next day, this would have still been a front page headline for weeks. It was knocked off the front pages for a while. After the Queen's funeral, people began to debate it with greater intensity. Several days after his death, I came here and there was a makeshift memorial there, flowers and so on, some inscription, some Arabic inscription. I mean, was he a Muslim? Not to my knowledge. And there were several men standing vigil here. But feeling was running very high indeed, and I judged it injudicious to film, so I chose not to do so. Obviously, the media had been here. It was a very touchy subject. It felt like this part of London was a tinderbox. Some people in the black community saying, here we go again, the police are going to get away with murder. So it was exhaustively investigated, police logs and so on, witness statements and so forth. Anyway, so the officer who shot dead Mr. Kaba was charged with murder a year later. But he was in his trial. The jury took just 3 hours of deliberation to pronounce him not guilty, so he walked free. Now, the Metropolitan Police Officers Association say that this firearms officer never should have stood trial. Now, firearms officers do a very dangerous job because when they're called, it's always a perilous situation. Most of them go through their entire careers never shooting anybody, but they have to be able to do so. They have to make split-second judgments. Inevitably, they get them wrong sometimes, and people get killed who are totally innocent. People get killed who are guilty, but still could have been dealt with with using less than lethal force, maybe no force at all. Or if they don't shoot soon enough, innocent people are going to get killed. So these are very, very fine judgments to make. Should we feel very sorry for them? Well, perhaps we should say, but this is the duty that they have volunteered for. They've chosen to take this responsibility, so be it on their heads. So they've got to protect us. There are obviously situations where the police have to use force, and sometimes that goes as far as killing people. The police are supposed to use the minimum force, not to use any force at all, if avoidable, and if they do have to use force, no more than strictly necessary. Now, some years in the United Kingdom, the police don't kill a single person. I read this statistic how police in the United States killed more people in 1 month than the British police killed in 1 century. Admittedly, the United States got 5 times the population of the UK, well, almost, and we don't have so many guns around. So firearms officers, some of them were resigning the fact he was charged with murder, saying, well, if I shoot someone in good faith, doing my best to protect the public and maybe actually saving people, I could be charged with murder. Even if not guilty, I'm not going through a year of stress and anguish. And even if you're acquitted, there'll be a question mark over your name. People will say, oh, he really did it, but he just got away with it. They didn't have quite enough evidence, or the jury was biased towards him or biased against the person he killed and stuff like that. So who will volunteer for these duties if they know that they're going to be dragged through the courts? Obviously, there's got to be some accountability. The police can't shoot people willy-nilly. They've got to be loath to do so. I think they're very reluctant to do so, which is the right thing. When I have seen police brutality myself, police using excessive force or police using force where none ought to be used whatsoever. So I realise that we shouldn't just give them carte blanche like that. So that closes that chapter. There are people who say that the law should be amended to give a stronger presumption of innocence to the police officers, because they'll be very reluctant to use lethal force even when they need to do so. So that is really the end of the Chris Kaba story. But many Labour politicians jumped on the bandwagon, the demagogues, the race baiters tried to exploit it for all it's worth, and indeed they presumably, because just cynical calculation, they reckon it works to their electoral advantage, and they're probably right. It's all too easy to rush to judgment without knowing the full facts. Right, thank you for watching my video. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon and donate on PayPal. Goodbye.